Welcome to the Getting Unstuck podcast, where we dive into all things law of attraction, manifesting, and what is keeping you stuck in your current reality loop and how to turn it around. My name is Anya, and I am your host. Why is my stuff not showing up? One of the most difficult things to deal with when you're trying to manifest something and you're doing all the things, but it's not showing up. You've read all the books, done some courses, and felt so positive and gave it a go. In fact, you did more than that. You tried your utmost to make sure that you're doing what they said you should, but it's been a while and your stuff hasn't arrived yet. This is where so many of us lose faith and give up. Understandably, we've all been there, and we continually face these type of situations depending on what it is that we want to manifest. So why isn't my stuff showing up? Is this manifesting thing even real? Am I doing manifesting correctly? And how can I tell if I'm not? You may feel like this is just too hard, too complicated, and maybe it's just not for you. But before you give up, let's have a look at some of the most common manifesting blocks and what to do about them. So number 1, do you know what you want? Well, an obvious question, right? But it is surprising how many people don't actually know what they want, and so they struggle to manifest it. They think that simply wanting something is enough. But knowing what you want is powerful because it clears up the energy vibration around your desire, and it gives very specific directions to the universe. Because when you are unclear about what you want, your energy is all over the place, and that means it is no place. When you don't have a specific desire and you flip from one desire to another and another, you don't actually gain momentum with any of it. You might have a stronger energy for the one desire, only to stop it in its tracks by taking your attention away from it and moving it to something else. And then the whole cycle starts all over again. This kind of loose focus is not a place that manifestation can come to. When you focus on something that you want, and then change your mind, and change your mind again, there isn't enough energy momentum that can gather to make your desire magnetic to your state of being. Since your state of being is constantly changing and shifting, and your focus is constantly changing and shifting too. Getting clear on what you want is a process. And in the beginning, you may well need a few adjustments on your desire because you aren't actually clear on what you want. You may start with one particular thing that you want, but once you spend some time thinking about it and you get some more information about it, you may come to realize that actually this is not what you want, or not in the way that you first thought. This is a really, really good place to be in, because the clarifying process is a necessary one, and it is a normal process to go through. We have so many options available to us and so many stimulating factors around us that it makes sense not to know 100% what exactly you want from the get-go. This is normal, and it is perfect. Because when you think about it, there are very few times when you know from the first thought that this is what you want, and you are absolutely sure about it. Most of the times, we go through a process of first noticing something that we like, and then we see it a few times on social media or in our environment before we come to think about it in terms of our desire. We then try it on for size to see if we like it enough to want it for ourselves. Only then do we think about it in a personal way. Do we want it? Do we want it exactly like we saw it? Or do we want it slightly differently? Let's dive into it more specifically and what this often looks like. Say you want to manifest a car. You have to get clear on what kind of car you want. Just wanting a car is loose energy. It isn't enough to actually magnetize it so it can come into your reality. You have to be more specific than that. You have to identify what type of car you want, the make, the model, the color, etc. And if we're honest, you probably have a car in mind that you want. If you only imagine it to be a car, any car, then the desire isn't very magnetic. There isn't a lot of energy around it to make it a match to what you want. You wouldn't be able to put your focus on something when you don't know what to actually put your focus on. For example, if I asked you to think of a car, you would jump to a specific type of car, a specific make and model, and probably a color too. You would need to have a target for your attention and imagination to land on. You probably saw a car that you liked, and you liked it enough to appreciate having one for yourself. This is the natural progression when you move from appreciation to desire. So number 2. So if you know what you want and it's still not showing up, then do you have split energy around it? Wanting it, but you don't believe you could have it, or that you shouldn't want it, etc. Split energy is created when you have a conflict about your desire, when you want it, but you have an opposing belief about it. For example, you may believe that it's wrong to want it, or that you should want something else, that this thing that you want is not practical, or someone like you can't have it. But your desire for it keeps you wanting it. Desire is a powerful magnet, and if you keep cutting it off in your mind by opposing thoughts and beliefs, such as that it won't happen for you, or that it's not something you should want, that you can't afford it, or people who have this are bad people, or selfish people, or any other variation of this type of thought, then you will stop the manifestation from showing up in your physical reality. The conflict inside of you will put a stop to the momentum. And momentum is what will carry the energy vibration to where it has to go to bring you the thing that you want. When you have a conflicting energy about your desire, then it can't come. Or if it does show up in your physical reality, then it looks like some strange amalgamation of the different choices that you've got going on, and it will look like nothing that you actually want. And you'll end up wondering what on earth this thing is and where it came from. Split energy is also caused by your belief about what you want. If you believe that you don't deserve to have what you want, then your subconscious mind will not allow it to come. You will find all sorts of ways to sabotage yourself, sabotage your manifesting opportunity, or completely stop your manifesting from coming into your reality. And this is where your belief about what you want, the story you have about it, makes itself known. So number 3. What story do you have about your desire? If you have a story about what you want, for example, that it's too difficult, or it's too big, or you couldn't imagine having it because who are you to have this thing? Whatever the story is, if it's in opposition to you having it, it will stop your desire from manifesting into your life. These stories are formed via the influence of our parents, our friends, and society around us. The opinion of others based on their experiences and what they've been told about a thing. And most of the time it's well-meaning, but they don't serve us in our life when they prevent us from manifesting our desires into the physical reality. That's why the so-called smaller things are easier to manifest, because it's easier to believe that they could come true. For example, the free lunch or the parking spot right in front of the store, because you don't have a story about it. You haven't formed a contrary belief about it and whether or not it could be possible for you to have it. These beliefs that we've created about what we want and the reason for our beliefs become our story about it. And many of these stories are founded in fear. The fear of failing, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of not being able to cope, the fear of not being able to achieve it at all. All these fears will stop you from showing up for your dream. They will keep you small and playing it safe, rather than showing up and giving it a go. Or they will keep you second-guessing yourself and finding all the faults and reasons why it can't work out the way you want it to. These stories will keep you stuck in a cycle of hoping for your dream, but doubting it will come true. And as long as the doubt is big enough and strong enough, then it will be the deciding factor. Because if you believe in your doubt rather than in the possibility of your dream, then that is what will manifest. Number 4, for this next part, are you feeling yourself into the state of being it? This is the key, and it is the most difficult part of manifesting for so many of us. Feeling as if you already have what you want. Embodying the kind of person who already has this thing that you want and what life is like now. Who are you now? What thoughts do you have? What kind of attitude do you have? What do you believe as the person who has what it is you want right now? Living the life as if it's already here in your physical experience. Living from the end, as Neville Goddard calls it. When you are living from the end, then you are living in a state of mind that you would have when you have your desire. Let's use the car as an example. If you had the car of your dreams parked in front of your house, what kind of thoughts would you have? How would you feel now that you have it and it's right outside? What kind of person are you right now? How does it feel to be the owner of such a car? How satisfied are you knowing that your dream car is right outside your front door? How does it feel knowing your dream car is there whenever you want to climb into it and drive it? See, the difference here is that you must get into the state of being that has what you want right now. This is what makes it magnetic and what will pull it into your physical reality. The state of being of already having it will bring more of already having it. Because when you are in the state of wanting it and you stay in the place of wanting, then more situation of wanting must come into your experience. This means that you will notice more of the kind of car that you want all around you, but it will not be yours when you are in the energy of wanting. You have to make the transition from wanting to having. You have to find and practice the energy of having it, of actually living it right now. Pretend that you have that car, that it is in your driveway, and think of yourself from that place. Think of how good it feels to see your car through the window. Imagine how it feels to touch the steering wheel, the way the leather feels under your hands, the sound that it makes when you start the engine. Really experience it as if it was happening right now in your physical experience. Number 5, then make this your practice. It's not easy to do this, to imagine that you already have what you want. Most people stumble in this part of the manifesting process. And the reason that most people don't do this is because it's tricky to imagine you have something that you don't. You feel like a fool at times, playing make-believe. It feels really silly to keep going as if you have what you want, to imagine that you have that dream car and all the senses that go along with it. And this is where most people give up, because it isn't always easy to imagine having what you want and experiencing yourself from that perspective. If you've never had something like that before, then you don't have a reference point that you can use to bridge the gap. And to imagine something that you've never experienced before can be difficult. But that is why you need to make it a daily practice. And that is exactly what it is, a practice. It's like training for a marathon. You have to keep showing up and going for a run, even though it's really awkward at the beginning because you've never gone for a run before and now you want to run a marathon. It feels really weird and uncomfortable, but you know that it will get better the more you train, the more you practice running and showing up and accepting that sometimes it's a really good run and sometimes you have to drag yourself kicking and screaming to get it done. But you do it. You show up for it because you know that this is the only way that you can build up your stamina, that you can train your lungs to breathe for such a long and strenuous run, and you build up your muscles to be able to be strong enough to run and have the stamina to keep it up for the duration. This is what it's like when you start to embody your dream. It can feel like a new muscle that needs to be built up for running a marathon. Your imagination is that muscle. You'll have to train your imagination to build the picture and the experience and to make it so real that it feels like you already have it. And when it feels like you already have it, then it will be yours. Number 6, do you believe that it is yours? Can you get into the mindset that believes that it is yours? This is the next question, because the belief that you have about it will create it. It feels very different when you are still in the hoping and dreaming place versus the believing that it is yours place. And this requires faith. It's another type of muscle that you'll have to train and develop, because this type of faith is in yourself, in your magnetism, where you become so magnetic by your embodiment and your believing that it is yours, that it has to come into your physical experience. And this is the part that does feel foreign, weird, and woo-woo, because you have to believe in something that you don't see, that you don't touch, and that you don't have any evidence of. You have to have faith in your ability to manifest. And this is not something that we are taught how to do. You have to practice this until you start seeing the evidence of your desire in your physical experience. Then you build up your own evidence portfolio that you can draw on when you want to manifest something new or something that you have a story about, a story that makes it harder to achieve, a story that everyone around you tells you is difficult to achieve, that takes a really long time, or that it takes a lot of money or a specific set of skills to achieve. You'll have to train your imagination and your attention to focus on what you want and how it feels like when you have it in your 3D reality. It may seem really simple to manifest your dream, and in theory it is. But when this is a new way to create your life and your dreams, then the stakes seem higher and it may well feel more difficult. So change how you look at it. Change your mindset about your life and your life experience. Don't get too attached to the outcome and the way that it should come about. The universe and our subconscious mind have ways that our conscious mind cannot conceive of, that we can't even come close to imagining how things can come into our physical reality. So don't let that be a contributing factor in your manifesting process. And I hear you. This is easier said than done. I'm a control freak and I need to know how it will happen. I get it. It isn't easy to shift from feeling in control to having faith in your higher being. Having faith in the creator part of you does require some practice, especially if this is a new concept. But life gets so much more interesting this way. The way that synchronicities keep happening and the things you want in your life keep showing up in new and unexpected ways. You begin to realize that you have a co-creator in your life, and you don't have to do this all on your own. A higher being is with you, always. When you start living your life the way that you were designed to, then you start making it your practice to tune into your power by knowing what you want, clearing the energy around it, identifying your story about it, embodying your desire by experiencing as if you already have it, making it a regular practice, and finally believing that it is yours. Your reality as you know it will begin to shift. This is when you will experience the magic that is you. It is possible.